Hello, I'm Geeta Gurumuthu. Thanks for being with us. We're starting this hour with some breaking news. Ukraine is claiming its forces have captured 2 Chinese nationals fighting as part of the Russian army. President Zelensky has said that they had ID and bank cards on them when they were captured in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. And he added that we have information indicating that the number of such Chinese citizens fighting in the occupiers' units is much higher than 2. Those were his words, and he's instructed Ukraine's foreign minister to contact Beijing for some reaction. While earlier, Russia had used thousands of North Korean troops to try to push Ukrainian forces out of the Kursk region. Let's speak to our Ukraine correspondent, James Waterhouse in Kiev. James, just tell us more about these claims.
Yeah, very little that we know at the moment. As you say, President Zelensky has posted a video online appearing to show a soldier, an Asian soldier in a Russian uniform, gesticulating to his Ukrainian captors. You can hear him say, "My commander," before making a symbol of a gun with his hands, which are in handcuffs. And President Zelensky is making the accusation that Chinese citizens are fighting for Russian forces in eastern Ukraine. As I say, there's a lot we don't know. We don't know if they are indeed Chinese, whether they're fighting in Ukraine as mercenaries. There are thousands of mercenaries fighting in this war, or whether they are Chinese citizens who have been living in Russia and who were simply mobilized to join Moscow's invasion. But if you are President Zelensky, you try to portray the expanding geopolitical footprint of this war to try and provoke the West into a deeper response against a growing coalition. And when it comes to China and Russia, you know, before the full-scale invasion, they talked about a relationship with no limits against external threats. What they meant was America. Their economic ties have deepened. I mean, China is the major importer now to Russia, and Western officials have always been fearful of its technology making its way into the missiles and military technology used to fight against Ukrainian troops or to terrorize Ukrainian cities. So this is certainly a development if you look at the accusation President Zelensky is making, but there's a lot of detail missing as to what extent Beijing could be involved in a military sense.
What would be the significance if it is indeed true?
Well, then you have a scenario where you have not one, but 2 of the world's major powers helping each other in the continued invasion of a sovereign European country, where its traditional Western counterpart, America, as of now, is less interested in supporting Ukraine in the long term. Now, the Trump administration has said it is prioritizing China as part of its foreign policy going forward in terms of its potential aggression towards Taiwan or other ambitions and balances of power. And so if it is proved, and it's not been yet, if it is proved that China is directly helping Moscow in a military sense, it's thought in some expert corners that it is, but there's certainly a deepening relationship there, then President Zelensky will pose the direct question as to what the West, America, is going to do to counteract this. But we are only talking about 2 soldiers which have been captured so far. As you say, there are thought to be 12,000 North Korean soldiers who've fought in other parts of the front line. In a military sense, they made very little difference, but it's what it could turn into which is so significant for Ukraine, not just the soldiers fighting, but the weapons and ammunition that the likes of North Korea and possibly China, but we don't know, could provide for Russia. A lot of unknown questions at the moment, but I think the sight of a Chinese citizen being captured fighting for Russia says a lot in itself.
Yeah. We obviously have to wait for this to be verified. James Waterhouse in Ukraine, in Kiev, thank you so much.